So hi guys, my name's Rob. I joined this group sort of towards the tail end of last year, and I've been wanting to kind of make a series of videos about my kind of journey into composite modeling from the beginning all the way through to sort of an end product really. Um, and I've kind of wanted to do this for a number of reasons. One of them is because it helps document kind of my progress and my steps, etc., that I can always look back on. I also wanted to do it to share my experiences for anybody else who's been looking to do this for or looking to get into it. It's taken me a good number of years to actually kind of uh, figure out a path, let's say. I was never kind of, I'm an engineer by trade, but there was just so many things I didn't have any experience with that I felt it was sort of above me, which is absolutely not the case. And I guess how I came round to this point where I wanted to do it is because I've been a modeler for years. I wouldn't say I'm a hugely experienced modeler in terms of the actual modeling aspect, um, I- but I've wanted to. If it makes I've always wanted to, and I knew that get especially I want to get into RC jets. That's my kind of I guess my end game is an RC flyer. I've been wanting to do it for years and years. Um, and I've been looking at, you look at scale jets and you look at, there's a huge amount of expense associated with them. And, and being a Scotsman, that I kind of like to get value for my money. But also there's the experience of learning and understanding and actually just making something from scratch, on your own, with the help of others and people on this forum, I'm sure are going to help me. So yeah, so that's kind of like how I've got here. I've wanted to get into jets. Some of these jets are just, the costs of them are astronomical. They're, tens of thousands of pounds, which is it's fine if you've got the money, that's great. But for like for me, it's much more practical to kind of do it myself, even if it's going to take a long time. I've got a lot of learning, etc., to do. So that's kind of why I'm here. I actually got invited to the site by another chap called Dave Whitaker, who I met at a course I went to. So thanks, Dave, for inviting me. It's been absolutely invaluable to to be part of it and see all the fantastic things that people are doing and sharing. Especially, there's a lot of knowledge uh, and skill that's being shared on this site, which is great. So then my kind of end game, I guess, what I've always had in mind I wanted to do was to scratch build a composite F-111, which is an American fighter bomber for anybody who doesn't know that. Also used in the Royal Australian Air Force as well. It was meant to actually be in the Royal Air Force, but it unfortunately didn't happen due to a minor incident. I've always been interested in aircraft. In the cadets, flown aircraft, just been aircraft crazy. But my absolute love is definitely RC aircraft. And actually the building of them, although a lot of the stuff I've built is pretty straightforward and etc. There's always problems and challenges to overcome. So yeah, so initially it's taken me this kind of long because I've always kind of shied away from it because there were so many things in and around composite modeling that you just didn't know. It was felt kind of inaccessible to me, no matter how much you read. It's one of these things that's very practical. You kind of got to get your hands dirty and get in amongst it. That's definitely something I've something I've kind of picked up over the last couple of months. Um, so my first, I guess, milestone where I really kind of thought, I really want to do this. I spoke to a guy from the US called Lance Armstrong, sorry, not Lance Armstrong, Lance Campbell. Lance Armstrong is a cyclist, isn't he? Anyways, Lance Campbell, who scratch built a SR-71 Blackbird, done everything himself. Anyways, I got in contact with him, and he said to me, "Look, I've never done it before. I never done it before I started. I've learned everything, and so don't be scared to just jump into it." And that's what I would say. Anybody else who's looking at this who might be is kind of in the same boat as me, they're kind of new to it or thinking about it, want to get into it, is yeah, you kind of need to just kind of jump in. I also have my cousin in Canada who's aircraft engineer. He's done whole loads of stuff, a lot with composites for full size aircraft. So he said, he's going to help me along if I've got any, if I get stuck or etc. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of where I am today. Now the next milestone that hit, I was so interested after I spoke to Lance and reading his blog, which is online. I A course popped up on Facebook one day, and it was just I didn't know a course like this existed. I guess I'd looked, but I'd never really found anything. And the course was sort of Introduction to Composite Modelling, ran by Limited Edition Models in Wales. The chap who's a member of this group as well, you probably know him, is Paul Lewis. So I signed up to that, and I went down to it in November, and it was a really, really fantastic few days. I met a couple of really cracking guys as well, John Palmer and Dave Whitaker. Dave's in this group, so shout out to Dave and to Paul. As I said, I had a really cracking weekend. I learned loads, but more than anything, it just kind of gave me the confidence to realize, yeah, it's not that hard. You can just go and get on with it. And actually, I'll just show you. I've got a model. I've got this was my first mold that I made. It's here, which was a nose cone from, I think, one of Paul's planes, the Goblin. So yeah, it came out pretty good. I was really chuffed with it. Sits on my mantelpiece now. Pride and joy. Also, just I've attended a lot of jet shows and sort of events and things like that as well over the years. Just because I've just so in love with it, and anyway, so after I went down to the course, and it was, as I said, it was really fantastic. Definitely worth my time. It just put to bed any fears or doubts that I couldn't do it or it was above me, which is just silly after you've kind of done it, because it's little nuances are the hardest part, just to try and get your head round. Anyway, so I had a really great weekend. I came back from that and I started thinking about what I wanted to do, how I was going to do it, etc., etc. And I think probably for the next couple of months I was just humming and hawing about how I would do it. But what I've decided is, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with a sport jet, something that has a kind of really simple A surface or external surface, no detail or anything like that. Something that could be quite easy to design up within a CAD tool, and kind of get on with it. So the way I've decided to do it, as I think most people know about, or some people have done, is I'm going to design it in CAD. I'm going to then print sections with from the 3D printer, and there's another reason for doing 3D printing versus kind of like the foam method or balsa or wood or anything. It is, if you mess up your plug for whatever reason, especially if you're a newbie like me, that actually the amount of work to reprint it and prep it is really quite small in comparison to having to restart the whole thing again. So that's one of the reasons. The second reason is I'm familiar with CAD. I'm not an expert, but I'm familiar with it, so I knew I could get my head around it. And I can mess about a lot in CAD, whereas kind of doing it like say live with a foam model or something, there isn't so much room for sort of artistic expression or design change. And then once I've printed the sections out, I'm going to in the model in CAD, I'm going to put a hole through the middle of each of the different sections, so I can then bolt them around a tube so it's kind of nice and strong. And then basically bond it all together, add any of the additional details I need, holes, location points, hatches, whatever it is, etc. like that. And then fill it, sand it, paint it, ready to go for some molds. That's the idea anyways. So this kind of like video log, I guess I'm going to do, I know it's quite long, it's 10 minutes right now. I'll try and keep them out. Each of the other ones I'm going to do are a lot shorter. But it's really just to share my experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, get advice from you guys in the community, and also document what I've done, as I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to do it as just kind of some step-by-step videos. I'm going to do some screen recordings working on the CAD. Whilst I'm only going to show you the fundamentals of it to give you an idea. There's lots and lots of information which I'll talk about when I go through my process. As I said, I'll be making mistakes. I'll be going backwards. I'll be going forwards, etc. Yeah. So the next video I'm going to talk about is CAD choice, because that was it took me a little while to get my head around it. Which CAD solution should you use and why? How easy is it to use? How do you get from a CAD model to 3D, etc., 3D printing, etc.? And then I'll go into actually the process I've used to create the model in CAD, the different versions that I need to create for the different applications. So you need the kind of base model, you need some 3D printed one, and you need one for the layout and equipment layout within the model. Yep. So, anyways, sorry, it's taking a bit longer than I thought, but that's a kind of just an intro. The next thing I'll do is next video I'll do in a couple of days is talk about CAD choice, and then I'll go into the actual modeling and thoughts. We're talking about tools that I need to buy, equipment, anything as a newbie that I think you would be thinking about right now. Okay, well, anyways, thanks for watching if you've watched all of it. And as I said, I'll try and keep the next one shorter. Take care and stay safe in this crazy time we're in right now. All right, thanks. Bye.